hope you've got your cups filled with some tea because our cup of tea is ready to speak all things women's soccer with you. My name's Megan Warner and I'm joined by my co-host, Harlie Ford. How are you doing today, Harlie?
Excellent. I'm very, very excited for the show today. Also, I want to say that I miss Katie, but she's doing really, really important things. So just know that she's still working behind the scenes, making sure that we're bringing the best show in women's soccer to you today.
Definitely, yeah. We can't wait to have her back whenever that may be, but she's still always involved and always welcome with our co-hosts.
Absolutely.
So, let's get the show started with the latest and greatest in WoSo.
Right. So today we're going to kick off with the news that I think quite a few people are probably talking about. Lloyd has officially announced her retirement, and it's incredible to think about. She is one of the most impactful players that I think has ever featured as part of the U.S. soccer scene, and she's made history every time she stepped onto a field. So I think it's really tremendous what she's done, and I'm going to be sad to see her go. She had an incredible career. She's the second most capped player in world soccer history. She has scored 128 goals on the international stage. And we watched her play in the Olympics with Team USA. And she will actually be playing 4 more games with the U.S. women's national team this fall. So there will be 2 in September and 2 in October. And then she'll end up finishing out her season with Gotham FC in the NWSL. So if you want to see one of the greatest players of our time play one more time, well, play again, right? It's gonna be at one of those games. So definitely keep an eye out for her in the fall. And best regards, Carly.
Yeah, thank you to Harlie Lloyd for everything she's done for women's soccer. Such an inspiring player, and it's always kind of emotional for all of us when we see a player like her with having such a big impact when she retires. But we can take some comfort in the fact that the future is so bright for women's soccer, and we just have incredible talents coming up through the game. And a few weeks ago, we spoke about one of these talents in Olivia Moultrie, who plays for the Portland Thorns, and she's 15 years old. So she was the youngest player to sign in the NWSL, and she's now made an even bigger name for herself as the youngest NWSL goal scorer. So she scored a free kick, no less, in the 57th minute of a game against the Houston Dash. Now, this free kick ended up tying the game in the Women's International Champions Cup. Now, I have a video for all of you guys to see.
I always love this. I love playing the videos. I mean, what a screamer. Oh, my goodness.
I just love the reaction. I feel like the reaction for me is, better than the goal. I mean, the free kick probably didn't connect with it in, the best way, but she did enough to beat that wall and beat the goalkeeper.
Yeah, and get that water polo skip off the ground,
Yeah, exactly. So hard to defend. A great important goal that tied up the game, and we then saw this game go all the way through to penalty kicks, and Olivia Moultrie stepped up at 15 years old. She was confident enough to step up and take a penalty and score.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing.
Team went on to win 3-1 in the penalties and secured a spot in the final where they'll be playing against Lyon. So you can catch that tonight, Saturday night, on ESPN at 10 p.m. ESPN, Eastern time. So definitely a game you don't want to miss. And we had UWS alumni involved in that game too. Natalia Kuika, who formerly played for SC Blue Heat, and Maddie Pogac, who formerly played for Grand Rapids. So, the talent is coming from the UWS, and that's what we love to sing about on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how tremendous can it be to just be on some of the biggest stages and perform at the top level, and then know that your teammates are there behind you, supporting you every step of the way. It's gotta feel really, really special for her.
Yeah, definitely. We also had the World Mini Football's Women's World Cup.
Listen.
Yeah, Ukraine.
I didn't even know this was a thing. Okay, this is so exciting. I loved reading about this,
and it looks really fun. I feel like this needs more promotion, more people to get involved. The girls had the opportunity to go to Kiev, Ukraine, to play in this tournament, which is an incredible opportunity. The tournament just finished, so again, we won't be able to show that much right now, but for the future, I definitely think we need to hype up and build up this tournament because it looks really cool. The final was between Moldova and USA. And it finished with a score of 9 to the USA and 0 to Moldova. So USA killed it out there. And more UWS shout-outs as we had Valerie Lell from Chicago Mustangs and Kenny Kessler of Lone Star Republic representing USA. So, I mean, champions of the Women's World Cup in mini football. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's tremendous. That's very, very cool. I would love to be able to get more coverage on that, especially since like we're a podcast about women's soccer. So it'd be nice to be in the know on that stuff. And also, you know, for Team USA people who were sad about the Olympics, you know, you could take that 9-0 win in stride.
Oh,
It's not too bad. As a final part of current news, and just following up on the story that we started talking about last weekend, there isn't like a lot of developing or incoming news about what happened with Richie Burke and the Washington Spirit, except that, you know, the things that are being said of what happened between him and his players, it's very, very alarming. I don't know. It's very, I'm not happy about it at all. However, I do think that from this situation, there's always something that we can take from it. And I hope that this shows players that they're able to like come forward and talk about the experiences that they're having, and that there isn't room for any sort of abuse in any type of manner, whether it's on the field or off the field. So I hope players are able to feel that they're supported and have the backing of their teams behind them when something like this happens. Yeah. So.
Not the nicest news, but news we have to report, and it's always good to find some kind of thing that we can learn from the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. But as always, we're trying to talk about women's soccer and the good in it, and we are on part 2 of our Women in WoSo series, our coaching edition. So last weekend, we kicked off our show with talking about like women in coaching positions, and then also focusing on the women in those roles. And so today we are bringing in a guest expert who knows all about what it's like to be a female coach. She is USSF licensed and has worked in Central Florida for more than a decade. She has coached several youth developmental programs, is a fierce role model for girls both in high school and club organizations, and is the head coach and director of soccer for Unity FC, which, I don't know if you guys knew this, Megan and I play for.
Yeah,
She also happens to be my mama. So I'm extremely welcome to honor Coach Kris to our studio today. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Coach Kris.
Hi, ladies. Thank you.
No, thank you.
What a very nice, warm welcome.
Yeah. Not bad, huh? Yeah, no, thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited about the insights you're going to give us about coaching and, you know, all the experiences that you've had. So thank you for being here.
Welcome. Thanks for asking.
Cool. So first off, Coach Kris, right into it. Can you tell us what it is about women's soccer that made you want to coach?
So soccer has been something that was a release for me back when I was a teenager. I was very fortunate that I had an amazing coach when I was in high school, and he came into my life when I needed him most. So then I grew up and I went away from soccer for a few years, and my girls were little, and there was an opportunity to coach again, and they were like 3 and 4 years old. And that was like, my heart swelled to watch these little girls run around with their jerseys past their knees and their socks up over their ears. I mean, they were just the cutest little things running around out there. So we did that for a couple of years while they were little. And for coaching, for me, why I continued into it, we actually stepped away from soccer for a little bit while we were still in New York, and the girls started dancing. So I wanted to stay a part of their world. So I started coaching dance with the girls, and I did that for like 8 years with them before we moved here to Florida. Once we came to Florida, dance was definitely not an option. It was a whole different realm here than it was where we came from.
Yeah.
So
can't agree.
We stepped into the YMCA arena of soccer because we were looking for something to get the girls involved with and try to figure out how to help them make new friends. We went to our first practices, and of course I couldn't help myself. I went to the coaches and said, if there's ever any time that you need any assistance, I said I'd be more than happy to volunteer my time. And it kind of took off from there. By the next year, I had a team of my own, and then from there we had girls fighting to get onto our team. It was pretty awesome. So I have been coaching soccer officially here in Florida since we've been here in 2010. And I don't see a future without coaching soccer in some shape or form. I super excited about everything that I've been able to do and accomplish. And I've had a great group of young ladies the entire time I've done it. I even had a co-ed team once, and that was kind of fun too. I still prefer the girls, so.
That's awesome. I mean, I didn't even know kind of your whole background. I've kind of got to experience you as a coach in the semi-professional UWS level, but it's really cool to hear kind of how your story has come about. So can you tell us a bit, what is your personal coaching philosophy? When you coach a team, what do you kind of embrace and what do you kind of promote as your philosophy?
I want to let the players, the ladies, know that what they have to say and what they want to bring to the table matters. A lot of coaches will dictate to you and you do what they say or you don't. And then it really hinders how much playtime you get because everybody wants playtime. That's what we're here for. So for me, being able to take a brand new player and teach them what soccer is and watch them develop throughout that first year and see where they come is really just about one of the things that can, empower them to know that they are a good soccer player. They just didn't know it. As far as the experienced players, I take their experiences and their successes and try to make it the success of the team. I don't get to play soccer anymore, and I can't make the decisions in a split second on the field for them. So I'm hopeful that we give them enough training and enough understanding about what it is the expectation for the program is and for what we're trying to accomplish, that when they go out there and they execute it, that they're executing it with everybody's expertise to try and, get the win. If you don't win, it's not always a loss. I always feel like whenever our team is able to step on the field, it's a win no matter what. It's very difficult and it's a big challenge to try to get enough ladies to be in the same place, on the same page, at the same time, to especially on an 11v11 field. And when there's so much competition with other different leagues that very, very skilled players are trying to figure out where they're going to fit best. So anytime we get to step on the field, anytime I get to be on the sideline with you ladies, it's a win for us.
Nice. So you started talking about this a little bit, but you haven't just coached women. You've coached pretty much every age group you can imagine. From the littlest tykes to, you have a 45-year-old player on your team. So you've really seen it all. So when you approach these different age groups, do you have different mindsets when you're coaching these groups? And then also, are there core values that you try to adhere to regardless of age?
So I found myself last year, I had stepped back into, after being with UWS for a couple of years and playing with the very talented and skilled players who all had a ton of experience of playing soccer, I stepped back into the JV arena in high school, and I was a little taken aback, and I was so grateful that I was humbled to be able to go back to start teaching basic soccer. I didn't realize that was something that I needed. Sometimes ego can get in the way. And with the success of the ladies that we have, I kind of forgot about what it was like to be somebody who didn't know how to play soccer. We've had a couple of girls who have come to the Unity team from the high school soccer, and that's where they got their start, was in high school with me. So it was great. I loved it. I loved going back. I loved showing new girls who had never touched a soccer ball before what it was, and my passion for it. And I'm super excited to say that I am going to return to that high school this year. And most of those girls have already reached out to make sure that I was coming back. And we're going to have, if we improved so much last year that I can't wait to see what kind of team we're going to have this year. I really feel very strongly about everything that they've learned, and that they've stayed conditioning. They've stayed working with the ball, and I'm super excited to see what they're going to bring to us this year. As far as my values for them, again, everybody has a value, and it doesn't matter if they can score goals, or if they can stop goals, or if they can run forever. Everybody has value to the team. It doesn't matter what part it is that they play to it. We are always one big happy family. I always do say, please don't look at the scoreboard. It's not a reflection of what I really see is happening on this field. Sometimes it's in our favor and sometimes it's not. But either way, whether we're up, whether we're down, whether we're tied, I try to keep the girls stopping looking at the scoreboard, because the scoreboard is not what matters. What matters is what we're putting on the field.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. So obviously it must be kind of hard to go straight from like your Unity season right into that high school season. How do you kind of deal with that, going from one straight into the other?
So this year, this is going to be my second year back with the high school, and it's my third year with the Unity group. So I feel like this year is going to be a little bit easier of a transition. With the Unity girls, we've got a great relationship. We've brought some new players in, and getting the chemistry balance with that is very challenging. So I've been able to hopefully work through a few of those things with the older ladies, that I'm going to be able to take those tools and those coping skills back to the younger ladies. And hopefully we're going to be able to do that. Obviously, the high level training that we do with the Unity team is not going to be the same kind of level of training that we're going to be at the high school. So I am going to be taking care of both the varsity and the JV. So my plan right now, and we'll see how it goes, is that I'd like to keep the whole group together, both JV and varsity, and we're going to go through conditioning. Nobody needs to know anything special about conditioning, and we'll set up the obstacle courses, and we'll just go through and have some fun with conditioning. And then we'll still have the same drills for both the varsity level and the JV level. It's just going to be on a different pace. With the varsity level, they're going to have an understanding of what we're looking at, because most of them are very experienced players. Where the JV, we're going to scale it back and be able to do some teaching with that. But that way, we have the same program for both girls, play with the same system. And that way, if something happens to the numbers on the varsity squad, that we have already prepared the JV squad to be able to step up and take that spot. In return, I'm also hopeful that some of those varsity players, maybe we can recruit them as they graduate and bring them on with us.
It's not a bad idea.
We just keep it. I use pretty much the same system for all three levels. So I'm excited to see what happens, how that works out this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how you continue to create consistency within the JV and the varsity. They're not separate teams. There's not one that's more important than the other, or one that gets to do something that the other team doesn't. And something that I've experienced, playing for Unity with you as my coach, is that you always do incorporate some kind of fun into the sessions, whatever that may be. Even going to a water park before we actually practice, which I just had the best time.
It's so much fun.
I love a water park. So what's kind of like your inspiration behind that? And do you find it challenging to come up with different things to keep everybody engaged and kind of do these random fun moments?
Yeah. So in my real job, there's not a lot of fun, especially right now. So coaching soccer and watching you guys enjoy what we're doing is really the inspiration behind it. And I know for a fact that when I was playing soccer, that my coach really tried to be very inventive. I had two male coaches, and they were very different from each other. One, not so awesome, and one just amazing. The one that was not so awesome, it was constant dictatorship. There was a lot of yelling and pointing, and it just wasn't a lot of fun. It was really not easy to learn in, and it wasn't easy to go to and be able to be committed, because it was just, you knew it was gonna be a grind. With my other coach, he was so supportive, and he would come up with these fun ideas. So I've always tried, and my coaching career started with those little 3s and 4-year-olds. And do you think that they're going to be listening to me if I'm screaming at them and telling them what to do? Probably not. So we had to come up with some fun, different ways to keep them involved. Well, I don't know about you, but I get distracted very easily. So if it was the same stuff that I'm doing every single time, then I would probably get bored, and I would lose track of just trying to tell y'all what to do. So if I keep it fresh and innovative for me, then I keep it fresh and innovative for you. And if we're having fun, but you guys are working hard, because I'm gonna tell you what, you guys worked hard. Your heart rates were up, your breathing was heavy, and you were sweating by the time we get done with the fun parts before we really had to focus. So get through the conditioning part, and I don't know if I'm right or if I'm wrong, but getting you guys through conditioning, getting the JV and the varsity players through conditioning, if we get that part taken care of, then we can focus on the soccer part. If we can focus on those two separately, and then conditioning is just automatic, then we have a lot more time to focus on soccer, and we can figure out good strategies and tactics that we want to play for each game.
That's excellent. And I have thoroughly appreciated that as a player. So thank you.
Agreed.
In terms of just like, when you're developing sessions and the way that you approach every practice and every game, there's obviously certain things that you have found that work and don't work on the field. And so are there any coaching styles that you disagree with, or things that you've seen other organizations or coaches do that you necessarily would prefer to stay off the pitch entirely?
I've had the pleasure of working with some excellent coaches as an assistant coach, and I've had the not so excellent experiences of working with head coaches that their styles are a little bit challenging for me to stand next to. I don't know how to say that more diplomatically.
That was very polite.
There have been coaches that will verbally attack referees during the middle of a game. And referees are just doing their very best they can. They're not out there. They can't be in every single spot and have the same angles that coaches have on the sideline, or parents or fans have on the sidelines that you want them to have, especially when they make a call against your team. So having a fit and actually getting red carded by a ref on the sideline is really very poor taste. I was in that situation where a head coach was thrown out not too long ago, and it was a very awkward situation, because then how do I step up and take the reins when the girls are used to somebody else's coaching philosophy? And now here I am trying to tell them and help direct them to finish the game, number one, but try to finish the game with a win, because we were on that side of the scoreboard that time. So it's very difficult when you're not playing on the same page, when you're not coaching on the same page. I also find that how you speak to a young lady is different than how you speak to a young man. A young man can definitely have a little bit thicker skin sometimes, not always, but sometimes, than how, and coming from a man to a man, it's different than from a man to a woman. And sometimes the things that I've heard out of men's voices and their coaching styles to these young ladies is really very demeaning, and it's really hard for them to be able to pick their heads up, because it is a male dominated world, and the ladies, they really look up to the men. And so if a man decides to raise their voice or tell them they're not good enough, that really is going to cut very deep. And in the age group for high school, especially, that is a very vulnerable age for all of those young ladies. And I'm going to tell you, even, the young 20-year-olds, when you're telling them they're not good enough, they're going to remember that for a very long time. And depending on each individual girl, because every girl is different too. Some girls are really tough as nails and some are not. And if you tell them that during the middle of the game, how do you expect them to continue to perform well? They're either going to go out of their mind and go crazy, or they're going to just shut down and you're not going to get anything else back out of them. So, I try to keep it as an even keel. Once in a while, I get a little animated on the sideline. My biggest animation, though, is when somebody's going down for us to score. You'll see me running down the sideline almost every single time with you, and I'm trying to kick
arms
the ball
up
for you.
always.
But other than that, you're not going to hear me yelling at yourself. I may have been a little frustrated with some calls from refs myself, but for the most part, I mutual respect on the field, off the field, and amongst each other is it's not a power trip. It's all about being respectful of each other.
Yeah, I always have appreciated how much, I don't know, you have a very good sense of awareness of the things that are happening on and off the field, and the impact that you can have on the people around you, and you take that in stride and use it to the best of your ability. So I've always appreciated that.
Yeah, definitely. And you kind of touched a little bit on this just now. And we spoke about it in our last show, the concept of that. There's kind of a gap between a female team and a male team. And sometimes, a female team might respond better to having a female coach as their leader and as their role model. Now, do you think that your experience as a player is something that has helped you be able to become the coach that you are today? And would you say that there is some kind of added value being a female coach leading a female team?
Yes.
Good questions, huh?
Never having a female coach myself, I can't answer to what the difference is because I don't know. I do have some female coach friends that I really respect and I really looked up to. They're from when I was younger and they're still coaching in high school. So I look up to them and they have longevity, 25 plus years coaching girls in high school. And I see that they still have contact with a lot of those players. They've become friends. They were their mentors. They helped them grow being strong, independent women. So is there a difference? I'm sure there is. I just personally don't know what it is because every sport that I played, it's always been a man who has coached me. Even just regular PE classes in school were all men that were coaching us. For me, coaching boys versus girls, again, the boys I can't say they're easier to coach because they're a little bit, a little more
Sometimes
testy.
They're stubborn.
A little more stubborn and a little more testy. Where girls are I understand where girls are coming from. I understand that there are emotional moments in their worlds that there's nothing that I'm going to do or say that I just got to give them their moment to collect themselves. And either they collect it that day or they come back the next day and we talk about it and, we move on from there. So there is a bit of a difference. I don't think that any athlete, boy or girl, is going out there to say, I'm going to make that coach have a really bad day. They're all going out there to say, I want to please my coach. I want to do the very best I can. And I'm there to support whatever it is that I can do to help them have the very best day they can, whether it's on the field, off the field, game day, practice day, just team bonding day, water park day. It's about whatever I can do to support to make sure that they're having the best day they can have.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely do that. No worries about that. Yeah, one of my favorite things always is after practice, I'm trying to get you to go home and it's about an hour later because everyone wants to talk to you after practice or after the games. There's a line. There's a line of ladies.
You're coming.
So something that we also talked about in our last show is just the research of there's just a vacuum of coaching for women in this game. There are very, very few female coaches in soccer. And I just, do you have any thoughts about that? Like, why do you think that is?
Part of it, and I've, as far as not just coaches, it's also female players. Once they get to be your age and above, different priorities, I think, I'm not sure, but different priorities start taking place. You guys have gone through school, you're going to be graduating with your degrees, you're going to be starting whatever your career path is. Now, if you stick with the athletics and you go into coaching, then you're going to be awesome and you're going to help fix this big gap. But if that's not your path, you start having thoughts of marriage, and ladies start having thoughts of children and family, and then who's making dinner and cleaning the house, and then the priorities shift. And I really think that that's a big piece of why you don't see as many women doing it, because men's priorities shift as they're going to be the I'm going to take care of the household, but they still have some more freedom, where women, they tend to take on all of that household stuff, rearing their children, getting them to school. I'm going to tell you, when you guys were little, this was the last thing I thought I was ever going to be doing, but because I was able to do it with you, that made it okay. But I wouldn't have done it if you weren't there, if that makes sense. I did it so that I could still spend time with you. I wouldn't have done it if it was going to take me away from my family. So my priorities were always you three girls, and soccer just happened to go along with it. So it worked for me. And then your dad jumped on board too. And it's just been one big Ford family affair.
Yeah, we've definitely made it into like a wolf pack of
Yeah,
a soccer run.
My whole family are like, oh yeah, the Fords, like, we know you guys.
I never in a million years, never thought that this was going to be our life, but I'm so grateful that it is.
Yeah, me too. It's not bad.
I really benefited from your guys' lives. That's the unity. It's really interesting though, that hearing your take on the priorities and the reason that you've been able to continue in the game when some people might not be able to, because their life has taken them on a different path, and they can kind of relate to what you're saying. Now, is there any advice that you have for the women who are trying to enter and be successful within soccer in general, and specifically within women's soccer? It's a very male-dominated industry, as you know. So what kind of advice do you have for them?
So it's a balance. Number one, you got to have balance. You got to figure out what your priorities are and figure out what that balance is going to be. And it might be, you might get as lucky as I have been able to be able to do all different levels of soccer. I've learned a lot. I've worked with a bunch of different coaches. I've worked with a bunch of different young ladies. And because of that, I've been able to do a lot of different things. However, when the girls were littler, my priorities were different. It was easy to start out with the little kids and learn and grow from there. And then as they grew, I grew with them. So, take it one step at a time. If you've got a lot of time to commit, you might be able to do something like a high level competitive level soccer coaching. If you don't have as much time to commit, like when we first started, it was YMCA. We went to practice for one night a week. It was an hour. We had an hour a game on the weekend, and we were done. That was our level of time commitment. So it really depends on what your passion is and how much time you have to commit to it. And if it's something that you want to do and you want to grow with it, then you just keep increasing it as your time allows.
Yeah, that's awesome advice.
It's
It's important to know that there's a lot of different levels. You don't have to be coaching a collegiate program where it's your full-time job. There's opportunities in every age group and in every level of the game. So that's really important. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and honestly, like when I started coaching my U10s, like that was the first time that I was like on a field where I didn't like have you by my side. It was like because I've always been like your assistant for that stuff, and it was like my first time having my own little kids, and I was like, oh my gosh, like even the U10s, it's so intense. Like there's so much that you have to do. I was wrangling like 16 kids all by myself. I'm like, how did my mom do this? How did she do this? And then and now you're doing it with like 30 plus full grown women. Like, you are a marvel of a
Yeah.
human being. But I mean, oh my goodness, I cannot thank you enough for, being here and talking to us today. It really, really means a lot, especially, like we know how awesome you are, but hopefully more people are starting to cue into like, hey, Coach Kris, Unity FC, she slaps. She's good. She's awesome. So in the end of everything, like, is there anything you'd like to promote? Just like in terms of like what you're doing or things that you would like to do, anything like that.
So my high school season will be kicking off here starting October 18th. We will be having tryouts. I'll be at the head varsity coach. So this is my head varsity coach first gig. I've always been the assistant or the JV coach. So this is a brand new endeavor for me this year. Super excited. I have some great talent coming back from the varsity team last year. Hoping to put an amazing team together and bring a lot more zip and life to what was left from the team last year. Unity FC, we're going to hopefully be seeing a bunch of our ladies come back next year. We will be holding tryouts in March and April, and we will be starting our practices again in May. And to get ready for the season, that'll be at the end of May through the middle of July next year.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll come back. We'll see.
Oh God! Now
I don't know. I'm gonna have to put you on the tryout list and see how
no.
you perform.
I'll do my best. Oh man.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm super excited for the next season and to follow everything you guys are going to do with your high school team. I'm really excited for your new opportunity to be the varsity coach. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much.
She's
and
so
thank
cute.
you everybody else who has joined us today on Our Cup of Tea. A special shout out to Coach Kris for coming on. I hope that everybody enjoyed hearing that insight about her incredible coaching journey. And, I even learned things from her today. So hopefully you guys did too.
Yeah. Also, we would like to like shout out some people on Twitter, like Joe Johnston and Jake Smookler. Like, you guys are the best. Listen, you are champions for women's soccer, and I wish we had more people like you, like, supporting everything that we do, including women. Listen, women have to support women. Where are like female Twitter followers? Come on,
Yeah.
where are you at?
Yes, when people get involved in, commenting on our show, sharing after, it really does mean so much to us. And yeah, there's some incredible male Twitter accounts that show us incredible support, and we are so appreciative of that. Another one of those is Jonathan Ward. I mean, we wouldn't be on this show without Jonathan, so special shout out to him too. And also UWS2. They are helping us bring this show to your screen, so we really appreciate them. Give us a follow, give us a subscribe. Everything is down below, and we'll catch you again next week. Thank you, everybody.